Surprise, surprise, early start to the stream. I know the counter said we had a minute to go, but I'm like, what are we waiting for? Let's get to it. Let's get to queer games. Heck yeah, where we play a bunch of queer little indie games and get moved and learn and love and laugh and cry and a whole bunch of other emotions, which, I don't know. Where am I going with that? Nowhere. I'm Luke Miller. I'm game dev. I'm helping out with the Queer Games Festival this year, taking screenshots of the games. And I thought since I'm playing them, I thought I would stream it to see what it was like to regularly stream. Uh, because I watch a lot of people playing games, and I really really admire it. And I'm like, how hard can it be? Let's find out. It turns out it's quite hard. My overlays are pretty dodgy. I knew that going in, but what I'm really learning about streaming regularly is there is an endurance element to it. Like you've got to come up with new things to say each time, um, and I think I'm okay at it. Like I cycle in ideas and I cycle them out. So a week ago I was like reading out the whole URLs, and this week I've been doing like speech bubbles. But imagine if you just did the same thing every day, because but because these games are very niche. Um, I am like, I hope I'm saying enough fresh things about them each time. Like, I hope I'm approaching them with fresh eyes, but of course, it's the same eyes that I've got. So I guess some repetition is inevitable. And I think that's my like streaming lesson of the week, really, is that there's this element of like, um, how do you keep it fresh for yourself and for the people watching? Because you can kind of tell when you're repeating stuff and not repeating it in like a this really applies to the situation. I mean, it always does apply to the situation, but it's like I'm repeating this stuff, um, and I'm hearing myself repeating it. I think that's when you're like, oh, I've got to retire that phrase. I've got to retire that little shtick or little essay that I give. Um, so yeah, we are on a voyage together. If you've come this far, you're probably watching this on YouTube. Uh, if you've watched the video before, who knows what I was saying? If you watch the video after this, who knows what I'm going to say? Probably the exact same sort of stuff as we just established. Um, Content warning. I know nothing about these games going into it. Part of what keeps it fresh for me is that each one is little voyage of discovery. You know, uh, have you ever read Eden Blyton as a kid? Um, they had these books called The Magic Faraway Tree, which is this tree that was so tall, the top of it went up through the clouds, and every week, as the clouds rolled in, there was a different sort of land up up above the cloud every few days. Well, it depended on the cloud, so it could be there for an hour, it could be there for a month. And so this sort of queer games, heck yeah, is my little magic faraway tree. I'm sticking my head up in the clouds, and every game is like a little different world. It's very exciting. But the flip side of that is I don't know what we're going to get. So it could be dark, it could be funny. Today we're playing Have You Ever Thought About Having Kids? Based on the title alone, I'm already thinking this is the greatest game I've made. Um, yeah, I'm still in awe of queer games, of how, just growing up, I thought games were like Civilization or Sonic the Hedgehog, or to date myself a bit, but I thought it was those kind of just you bash animals and you get their gems, and then you use the gems to buy better armor. And here we are looking at a game that is literally one question on a screen so far. Have you ever thought about having kids? I'm like, this has this is more real than a 30-hour RPG. You know, let's get into it. Have you ever thought about having kids? Oh, that's quite loud in my headphones. I'm just going to turn it down a bit. And then the flip side is now I have to check the OBS. OBS is the software I use to stream. I think it's called Observer Platform or something. No, outside broadcast system? Online broadcast system. I don't know. It's an amazing piece of software, open source, freeware, runs on Linux, etc., etc. Um, it's amazing software, and it makes all this possible. But let's keep going. So this is the game. It's a Bitly game or bitsy game, which is like a little framework for making these sort of little low-res games. And I want to say it's like a Commodore 64 type aesthetic, which is a gaming platform from I think the early 1980s. Except, we're getting to the essay now. I think these games are 256 pixels by 256, which I think is a bit more than what a Commodore was. I think Commodore was even lower resolution. It may have been, 128 by 64 or something. So imagine like graphics a quarter this size, or half this, yeah, quarter this size. So I think what Bitsy or Bitsy and other frameworks that are inspired by Bitsy. So I think there's like a Python version or like a Unity version or whatever. What I think's inspired about it is they've kind of gone with the 256 by 256, which is a very sort of zeros and ones kind of thing to do. So it's authentic to that original style from the 80s, but it is actually an upgrade. But it's an upgrade without sacrificing anything. The other thing I really love about Bitsy games is they fill the screen from like bottom to top. Like I think of the games I make, I think of it as like a theater, and the characters are like walking around the bottom. And so I really struggle to kind of think of it as like is a 2D space, almost like a painting. And I think Bitsy, just what's really great about it is that it uses the whole screen. I think the French have a term for that. Don't quote me on this, mise en scène. But I'm not 100% sure on that. I'll have to Wikipedia it one day, or not. So yeah, what we've got is a really fabulous aesthetic. That's a really strong visual aesthetic. That sort of low-res style, but then also there's a real dramatic, like artistic component to it, which actually I think Bitsy games do better than 3D games, and that's filling the screen. And then the third thing I love about Bitsy games is they're really beautiful to look at. Like, you think of how many few pixels there are. We can already tell this is a tree, there's trees, and the trees are blowing in the wind. That's what, look at that. And it's a park. There's a fence, there's a lady with a pram, there's a dog, there's a slide, there's swings, there's like one of the monkey bars, and there's bushes. And you just think how much information is being imparted to us with hardly any pixels on the screen. But it's so obviously kids playing in a playground, dog barking. Oh, it's so beautiful. Because it's the simplicity of it. No, it's not a simplicity. The austerity of it is amazing. Sorry, what did you say? Unknown woman. I said, have you ever thought of having kids? Children. Oh, well, yeah, I thought about it, but I don't really want. Unknown woman. You'll change your mind. I used to be the same, but it just happens. There's nothing more rewarding. They become your entire world. Okay, but unknown woman, you'll be a great mum one day. Oh, it's like the Australian spelling of mum. Is this an Australian game? I mean, it could be UK or something, but I would love it to be an Australian game. Because I'm patriotic. Listen, I don't think you understand. My insides are all wrong. Oh, honey, I was just like you. I was you. I know how you think. You'll find the money, the energy, and you'll have a little friend for life. If it gets too hard, your husband will get you through it. Oh, I'm out of Pepsi. We're going to have to switch to water. That's right. I keep an array of beverages here. You stop. Sorry. You don't understand me at all. Well, I... Stop, leave me alone. Leave me alone. Oh, where are we now? Okay, for all that thing about aesthetic value, I actually don't know what we're looking at here. Water, like a water trough? Toilets. It's a toilet room. Oh, hair cutting scissors. Blunt but usable. Oh dear. We're in the bathroom. I see. There's a bath that's running. The tap's running and there's a toilet. Someone outside the door. Blunt but usable. I don't think we want to do that. Hey, sweetheart. You okay in there? Yeah, just cutting my hair. Alright, love. Try to keep it out of the sink if you can. I'm your wife, but I'm not your maid. Ha ha ha. I will. Hey, babe. Yeah? To you, I'm sorry that I've been so down lately. It's not fair that you have to. Darling, you have some mental health stuff going on. I get it. It's not your fault. I'm an adult. I know why you shut down sometimes, and I love you. I gotta get going. Message me if you need to, okay? Okay, I love you too. Okay, well, as soon as blunt scissors in a bathroom have entered the picture, I'm like, how dark is this game gonna get? I do like the hair on the ground. That's pretty cool. All right, let's let's walk around. The other thing about bitsy games that I quite like, the colors are the interactives are pretty obvious. It's time to come back out. It's time to come back out. You have to come back out. Is that a kangaroo? I want to believe this is an Australian game. Okay, so we're in like a living room, or we outdoors. Oh, great! Some poop. Awesome. You almost trip on this toy ball and feel frustrated you cannot push down. Is this pee? No, it's just water, but your sock is soaked. Who knows what this was? It's been ripped apart and lightly eaten. Let's hope no vet visitors. Oh, it's a dog. Or a very strange kangaroo. Shh, please, quiet. I'm tired. Bark, 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 bark. I said quiet. Shush. Bark, 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 bark. Heck. Why? What is... Heck, why? What's wrong? You're a nightmare. I'm sorry. I'm glad you can't understand me. Heck, it would be so hard if you did. I'm sorry. Wouldn't it be easier? So many toys that you keep stepping on everywhere. Another broken something. Great, thank you. No matter how much I clean, it doesn't matter. I will never win. It's true that an adult is just about putting something down and then later on picking it back up. The food bowl is empty, kicked from its usual place. Your dog looks at you, not a shred of frustration you were feeling evident in her eyes. She was just hungry. You fill the bowl and feel a buzz in your pocket. It's your phone! The food you ordered for your delivery is waiting outside. This is very cinematic for a bitsy game. It's like there's flashbacks, there's transitions. We don't have to walk through the doors. The camera takes us there. That's adorable. The car on the street. Uber driver. Hi, here's your meal. You smile and take the bag and realize you recognize the driver. They've brought you food several times this week. You feel a pit of dread in your stomach overcome your hunger pains. The money you've been wasting is all you can think about. Imagine if everybody else depended on your income. Would you even be capable of saving? I've had that exact thought. Because, I sometimes thought I should get a dog. And sometimes I thought, oh, maybe I could adopt or I could be a foster parent. And then as you're like, normally when I get the Uber receipt or the food delivery receipt, part of me is like, oh, I could have literally bought anything from the supermarket and it would have been cheaper. But I don't know, you can't beat yourself up, I don't think. You've just got to live your life a bit. Oops. Oh yeah. These transitions, they're very cinematic, but they're very disorientating, which I think may be part of the point. You force a smile and rush back inside. It's a nice temperature outside, so you eat on the balcony in the starlight. See, more stars! I'm, you know, I mean, most games probably have stars in it, but I don't know, there's just something, uh, queer people love the stars. I mean, everyone loves stars. As you put your plate down, you spot the ashtray. I guess why I'm fixated on the stars a bit is because I'm always looking for trends and commonalities between these games. And there does seem to be a lot of like, we're staring up at the stars. I wonder what it means. A certain melancholy or ennui or dissatisfaction, maybe there's an element of that. I haven't really articulated it well. As you put your plate down, you spot the ashtray, and then once again, it's like the themes you spot are the themes that you are projecting onto it. Like there was this game the other day where I'm like, oh, this is totally about like Aboriginal deaths in custody, but I don't think it was. I think that was just me reading a lot into it. As you put your plate down, you spot the ashtray and feel the urge. A smoke would feel real good right about now. Okay, now we have diverged. You're a monster. Small round metal grinder. It's full and ready. Oh, it's pot. Okay, that makes sense. There's a joint just sitting there, pre-rolled from the night before. You've been smoking too regularly, but phew, it instantly melts your tension away. Sometimes you depend on it too much. Any adult can understand the dip into dependence, but a kid. That transition. So the last Bitsy game we played on Queer Games Heck Yeah, I believe was Taipei Metro Quest, where you go home to Taiwan and you just travel around the city visiting a few locations and thinking back to the last time you were there. Very wistful game, um, very thoughtful game as well. In the same way that this game is very thoughtful, and I'm kind of beginning to think that maybe that is um, the bitsy genre or the strengths of it is this sort of there's a certain zen to bitsy games. You know, you're really restricted to just two colors or two or three colors. You're really restricted on what you can display on screen. Your frame rate's restricted. The amount of text you can have is restricted. So I think there's this the form. No, the format. No, the function is prescribing the form, and so because it's a very austere framework, the games themselves must have this sort of Spartan element where it's just like one idea at a time, or um, I don't know. I think the first three or four Bitsy games I played, I didn't get. I didn't understand them. But now I think they've worn me down, and I'm kind of like, holy heck, just um, I kind of want to know the Bitsy community now. I think these might actually be people I want to know. I want to be friends with. Have I been working in the wrong framework my whole life? Maybe I'm a Bitsy person. Am I even saying that right? Is it even Bitsy? A kid, when you were younger, you always hated seeing your parents indulge in anything. Your dad smoked, and school told you he would end up with lung cancer. You were so hurt when he didn't stop, you failed him. But now you get it, and now you smoke. But you don't want to hurt a kid like that. Heck, and you'd be a mum, no matter what you would become. A mum, a queer mother. It's not fair for a child to have two mothers. Well, I mean, I guess this game is kind of negative thought cycle. Or just, you know, is it negative thought cycle or is it all thoughts? It's not fair for a child to have a gender confused parent. It's not fair for a child to inherit your trauma. I mean, that's unavoidable to some extent, I think. My own theory of parenting and generationalness, I don't have kids, is that you are almost inevitably just going to be very similar to your parents, except in one or two ways where you get to consciously choose to be different. So like you just 90% generic genetics kind of thing, but there'll be one or two things where you're like, I've seen the way they did it, and I'm not going to do that. I think maybe that's the best you can hope for. Oh, we don't know what that was. Oh, everyone will see what you are. Is that a brain? I think it's a brain. Oh no. There is a void you can see ahead. There is a future you are blind to. What will happen in your time? Will things get better or worse? Do you know what you want beyond others' expectations? They're looking at you. 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 Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? Screenshotting this, by the way. It's so beautiful. Quite a few queer games have voids, just giant voids in the heart of the game. I think there was one in the festival last year, um, where you're just kind of walking through this factory, and there's just a hole in the floor in the center of the factory, and it's just infinitely deep. You don't know how it got there, and the game is you just walking towards this void until you jump in. You're like, I think this is an allegory for something, but I just don't quite know what. Okay, we're going to talk to this person who's oh, this is your partner. Darling, are you okay? You shake and she holds your hands. She holds your arms. She holds you. Partner, shh, you'll be okay, sweetheart. I've got you. Oh, tears of joy. Oh, maybe this is the end. We can't seem to do anything else, I guess. Yes, well, I guess that's the end. Very abrupt ending. Once again, wouldn't put past me for missing something, but you can never tell. A short game is a good game, and bitsy games are always very short, or usually very short. Um, yeah, I guess that is it. I literally can't do anything else. Wow. I guess I was hoping for a little bit more interrogation of what it would be like to have a child or not have a child. What's the way to put that? I guess I feel like there was a really strong premise for this game. Just kind of about how there's all these sort of social pressures that are almost invisible. Especially, I think if you're straight, you probably don't even know that you're swimming in it. But if you're a queer person, you just sort of notice these little. I guess sometimes they're referred to as like microaggressions, but I wouldn't go so that far. You just these sort of, I guess, social pressures to have kids. I walk past a playground between here and the supermarket where I get my food, and just walking past that playground, you feel the pressure. You're like, oh, am I supposed to have kids? You know, or the other day I was walking down the street and I was sort of pushed into the gutter because this family were just taking up the whole footpath. And you're like, I know like kids are important, but I mean, do the single people have to walk in the childless people have to walk in the gutter? You do notice these things as an adult. I mean, it doesn't bother you, but it does bother you a little bit because kids are great. Anyway, I really can't fault that game because it got me thinking on quite a few levels. It got me thinking about the whole child thing. It got me thinking about what it'd be like to be a mum, a queer mum. It got me thinking about, have I smoked too much pot in my life? Possibly. It got me thinking about bitsy. And it got me thinking about flashbacks, really. All right, well, we're just about to run out of water as well. I think we should end it there. I think that was really great. Great game. I do wish I wish it'd been twice as long. I was kind of in it for the long haul. I think that's a sign of a really good game, is when you're kind of really upset that it ended too early. I may even check out the other person's games because that was really, really fabulous. Anyway, thank you all for joining me here on Queer Games Heck Yeah. Hopefully there'll be more games in the future. Keep in touch. Yeah, have a good day.